Right now, I'm all about gentle gardening for health and healing. And you know what's interesting? I know that a lot of you are in the same boat I am. So today, my garden tasks are going to be smaller, repetitive movements, smaller jobs, but still getting the work done that needs to get done in the gardening, just not overexerting myself or getting into anything too crazy, too heavy, too deep, etc. Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B and I am in southeastern North Carolina. In a recent gardening chat video, I was talking to you about some health issues that have come up, and basically, without getting into things too much, my blood pressure is super high these days, and so the gardening tasks that I will be performing, that I am able to do, are going to be things like deadheading my massive plumes and bunches of blanket flowers and taking care of other things. And I really want to take you along with me, because what I want to show you is that little by little, a little becomes a lot. These smaller tasks may not seem like a lot when we're used to transforming our garden spaces or maybe doing much more major work, but you know what? Sometimes that is just not possible. So we're going to be diving in first and foremost to my blanket flower area, which has to be deadheaded anyway. So it turns out that while I feel a little sad maybe that I can't get into the bigger projects that I really want, that are on my to-do list, it's okay, because I can do this, I want to do this, and my plants want me to do this. So the blanket flowers, since they are quite tall and floppy, I decided to just bring over a pot to put in this spot and kind of let them drape around the sides of it. And hopefully we could be in a good spot to still be able to mow the lawn without a problem. So just follow along with me. We are off to multiple tasks and beautifying several other things in the garden. So right here, without having to lift a shovel or do anything that requires strength, I'm going to clip off the flowers on my coleus, because I don't want it to be putting its energy into the flowers. Instead, I want my coleus to continue producing its gorgeous foliage, and this one is particularly gorgeous. This came from a multi-pack that I purchased back in the spring, and so you never know which ones are going to thrive, get super tall and lovely, but this one is definitely very lovely. So again, just doing some minor cleaning up by taking off the flowers here. And then while I'm right here, I just have a few bits of the foliage that I want to clip off of my Hudson Bay hosta. You can see we got some like rust marks or some burn holes even from the sun right here. So I'm going to clip that back also, and that will help to make this look a lot neater and cleaner over here. Clipping foliage that comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes is extremely rewarding when the foliage makes a difference, like getting rid of the junky foliage makes a difference. So my banana trees are a wonderful example of that, because once these guys shred up in the wind, they turn yellow, then brown, and they look really disgusting like this. So the idea here is I want to get rid of some of these really junky looking fronds, let's say, maybe they're leaves, and get this thing looking luscious and green again. So that's what we're off to now. Sometimes with the banana trees, what you can do, like this one right here is the lowest branch I have going on this stalk. I can just kind of pull it down until it comes off like this. If it does that, no problem. But if it's one like up higher and I can't do that, then that's when I get into the clipping. Again, very big impact here. Very little stress on my body though. Ooh, look at this goo. Ooh. You can see how watery banana tree leaves are. Down here, ooh gosh, something's munching on this one. I don't even know what munches on banana tree leaves. I haven't seen that before. But you can see I have this happening, and then I have multiple junky looking ones down there, so getting rid of all of those. Sometimes it's hard to tell where the brown leaves are coming from, so you kind of just do a little follow along, and then you're like, okay, this has got to go. I don't want it near my planter. Even though this work is not particularly strenuous, it's kind of hot and humid out today. So this is the perfect time for me to do a little heart rate check, which, by the way, I could tell my heart's beating a little faster than normal. That means it's time to take a break and have a drink. And now for one of my most calming activities. Oh, don't worry, it's not going to be bad. Someone just suggested that I use a little blowtorch to see if I could get rid of the grass that's in my pathway to the greenhouse. I don't know if it's going to work. We're going to give it a shot, and don't worry, we have precautions here. It's fine. Like, we're not starting a huge fire, I don't think. No, it's been raining a lot lately, so. I mean, I guess that's effective. I don't know. The time it would take to get this whole thing done, and then I still got to dig it out. What do you think? Is this what people do? That's what I've heard people do. Well, it didn't get my blood pressure up at all, so that didn't concern me. There was no fire hazard or, lack of safety over here. I just don't know if that will be something that I should continue following through with. So let's move on to our next task. So follow me down the blue boardwalk. We're gonna go snipping and clipping all the different things like this elephant ear that is ready to get out of here. And by the way, you may notice that I have beach balls scattered all throughout the blue pathway. It was not necessarily meant to be garden decor, but what happens is the breeze picks up a little bit from the pool. Next thing you know, beach balls do become a sort of garden decor. One of my videos where we were talking about heat and humidity and what it can do to your plants, especially here in the South. We talked about like fungal disease and different things like that. And canna lilies can suffer from rust spots on their foliage. And you can see very clearly that I have that happening here. It's been incredibly wet. It's been raining for days. We've had a ton of humidity, like I said, and that's just part of what happens, especially when these plants grow in clusters like this. So I'm not going to dig all the way into here to get all of it done, but I am going to clip off some of these rusted foliage pieces, and then we're going to keep going. While I'm walking down my boardwalk, not only do you see the problem areas, but sometimes you get little garden delights. This is my first bloom or set of blooms on my oleander. If you remember, I lost my main oleander tree this past winter because it was like crazily hot here. And these were just the little suckers that were at the base of the oleander that I left in the ground. I had no flowers all year, which is so unusual for me in this space, but I got my first ones. This has brightened my day. So holy coleus, Batman. You can tell when you haven't been with your coleus in a little bit because they are all sprouting up their little flowers. And as I've compared it before, I'm going to compare it again. For those of you who have grown basil, think of it like that. You want to stop your basil from flowering or turning to seed at all because you want it to keep producing the foliage because the basil foliage is what you use in your meals. Same deal here, except I'm not eating the coleus, but I do want to clip off all of the flowers here. And holy cow, I sure as heck have a lot to do. We decided it was going to be best to get away from that black bee or whatever the heck it was, so I'll just be clipping over here in the meanwhile. He followed us? What is he doing? There was huge, like, that one looks like a regular bee, I think. Oh my gosh. Maybe I should leave these alone. Well, I have to admit it's making me feel guilty now, seeing all these pollinators crawling all over the coleus, even though I'm not exactly sure what we're looking at. But I think I might leave this alone temporarily and instead get back to some more essential tasks like taking these dead fronds or leaves off of the elephant ear that's here. Here's another little bit of joy. I just popped into the house, cooled off for a hot minute, and I grabbed my little blue ball jar. Now I am obsessed with using ball jars as vases for our cut flowers, but in particular, this is my color right here. So what we're gonna do is cut some of our zinnias that are grown to be cut anyway, not just to stay in our garden. And I'm gonna make up a little arrangement as we go and finish the rest of our time in our yard today. So I'm actually gonna skip over some of the ones that are a little bit more spent. No need, that's not what I'm after. I wanna get some of the ones that are offering some fresh new color. Like, look at this sweet little mix. No muss, no fuss, just easy to grow. These were just seeds that I popped right into the ground. And look how gorgeous they are with that blue. Oh, ooh, there's a little bug in there. I have that golden euonymus in the back corner there. Let me set my flowers down. And look it, I have this one tall spike that doesn't match with the whole rest of the plant. And so I'm gonna cut him off. This is just an evergreen shrub, but he's now going to be part of my little flower vase. And actually, I think this one too. We've done a lot of clipping in the yard so far today, but some of the other tasks that we can do when we're not feeling so great but still want to get some things accomplished is pick some weeds. Now, one of my biggest problems is this weed right here. I don't know the name of it, but I'm sure some of you do. It's the kind of thing that starts to grow in like a blanket, if you will, kills the grass around it because it just spreads out so much. And I have it, for some reason, growing all along the front edges of my flower bed. So you have a root system that's like coming out of the center, and then like I said, it's almost like an umbrella, which suddenly reminds me of like Avatar. Like those floating islands up in the sky, they're just kind of like this, and the planes are going, okay, whatever, I digress. But anyway, we're just gonna pull out some weeds. Probably the only good thing I can say about having myself on a little bit of kind of bed rest, if you will, recently, is that I've actually been able to keep nail polish on my nails. So my gardening hands haven't suffered too much. And I know while I'm out here I should put gloves on or something and keep my nail polish looking good, but that's just not me. I have some blanket flowers on either side of me, and you can tell just by looking at these bunches here, this is what it looks like when you don't get to deadhead for a while. All of these is where the seed pods fall from after they dry out like this. So I have all the stages of blanket flowers turning to seed. And my ideal situation would be to stay on top of the deadheading of the blanket flower because I don't want them to keep reseeding. I have so many as it is. But alas, this is what happens when you can't get out into the garden. So we're just going to do some clipping back on some of these, and I can't go too crazy because it still is very hot. So we're in that situation of little by little. So I'm getting done with what I can. And then ultimately today, I'm just going to cut off a few of the blooms and add them into my little blue ball jar. My garden easel. This was something that was in my front yard for this whole year so far. And I had put a new summer arrangement in here, but guess what happened? It got eaten by a deer. And so this sweet potato vine is delicious to the deer. And so it actually ate my whole vine down to nubs where I had barely any of the foliage left. So I got very tired of having to worry about that. So I decided I was moving the easel to the backyard. Plopped it in this spot. It's not even in its actual home. And I was like, yeah, I gotta get to clipping off the long stems here of my sweet potato vine so that it can grow back beautifully. Well, guess what? I have not even touched it, and it's getting all this new growth on it. Now you could tell the new growth because it's the most purple, and then over time the leaves, turned green, more green. So I have lots of new growth. I just wanted to simply clip off some of these other stems that were still empty, didn't get any of the new growth on them. Maybe there's some other issue and they won't. The reason why I'm even mentioning this, first of all, I wanted to get this job done. But for an example here, this stem that only has leaves at the bottom of it is not really worthwhile when you're looking for a draping plant, right? We have all this extra stem with nothing. So this would be something that I would clip off and reroot. And I am here to tell you, the sweet potato vine is so easy to reroot from a cutting. Here's my example. I took off one piece of this, just set it in a jar, never to be touched again, and look at this root system I have. Amazing roots that have just been sitting in water, and we have all this fresh growth on them as well. So I could literally, which I will be doing, clip this off at a spot where it makes sense. It's going to be much lower here to the leaves. And I'm going to put that into water and let it root just like this. Now you might be able to see that the roots are actually coming out of leaf nodes right here, right here. So the leaf nodes are where the leaves once were in the stem. The rest of the stem down here, nothing. I don't have roots coming out of this stem, so that could be cut off now. But so your leaf nodes is where the roots are going to grow from, and you didn't know this was going to turn into a little learning lesson, did you? I didn't know either, but I thought it was kind of important and kind of cool, especially because as fall is approaching, more and more of us are going to be using this in our fall plant arrangements. So sweet potato vine, super duper easy to make more of it. So our bottom line for the day is we can do a little, and a little by little, a little becomes a lot. I've made some changes in the garden and some impact in the garden today, just with some clipping, some picking of weeds, even making my little beautiful arrangement that's going to come inside my house. Those are all things that didn't exist in that way before I took this time in the garden, and I feel good. So we can take our time, take care of ourselves, and get the garden work done. Thank you guys for watching, for all the love and support, and until next time, happy planting.